Alrighty. Our next project is going to have a lot of steps involved, so I'm going to make a short video, kind of walks through all of it. It's going to take us a little bit of time to do, but I want to make sure we're on the same page. We're all going to start with a block of wood. So I'm in Fusion. I'm just making a normal thing. I'm going to use this one, and I'll show you why this plane is I'm going to make this 3.5 by 3.5 inches. Make sure you're in inches. Okay. And I'm going to extrude that 0.75 inches. All right. So this is the piece of wood that we're going to be engraving in. Now, first thing I need to do is actually change the physical properties of this block to wood. If I come over here to bodies, you can right click on it, physical material, and write oak. Find oak, white oak, drag it on it. There you go. So now I have a piece of oak that's the right thickness that we're going to start working on. Now, I'm going to give you a website where you can download some simple SVG files. That's what we're going to use. So I'm going to insert an SVG. I've already downloaded this onto my computer. You could choose what you want, but simplicity in this case is going to be good. When it's here, it's going to say, like, where do you want to put it? I want to click on the actual face. And you'll see down here, my cloud, it's upside down. So I'll flip it. I'll make it a little bigger and I'll place it on the wood. I do not want this to be very, like, all the way close to the edge because I don't want to accidentally hit like my clamps or something like that. So I'll just put it right there. I'm also going to come in down here and use text. And here I'll just write what it is. Now, the reality is I'm choosing this font here. Depending on the font you use, you may have issues with your carvings, right? Because if you have ones with very fine detail, finer than our bit, then they may not show up when we go to engrave. You might get errors. This one tended to work for what I'm going to do, as long as my height is significant enough. So, and the height means height of the letter. So there you go. So now I'm going to extrude this. Now, in our last project, we dropped this down 0.0625. That would be negative 0.0625. However, this one, our bit's going to be a little smaller. So I'm actually going to change it to 0.325, or even 0.3125. There you go. Make sure it's negative, so it's going into the wood. You may, because depending on the plane you chose, have to adjust that. But this is what we want it to look like in the end. A small engrave all the way around this piece of wood. So now I have this, and I can go into manufacture. You might want to save this at this point too. So over here in the corner, we've been working in design. We want to switch to manufacturing. You'll see now all my tool options have changed. First thing you have to do anytime you go to manufacturing is you have to do a setup. Setups are over here. I click on this block, and it's going to say all these different options. Now, first thing I'm going to do is go to stock. It says, do you want to add stock? Basically saying, so you don't have any issues, you have a little bit of wiggle room. We add a little bit on top of this. I'm going to say we don't need that for this. So that's under stock. Now under setup, all I really need to do is I don't want my XYZ plane starting here. I want it to start down here. And actually, the way I have it set up is pretty good. X, Y, and Z goes up and down. Now, if you don't have that, because you chose a different plane when you first started it, you have to start toggling around to get to XYZ. Now, if I click on the X, it'll flip it around. If I flip on the Z, it'll flip it around. But sometimes that doesn't work either. Oops. See, now I'm on the wrong dot. And now I have the XYZ where I need. You may have to come and play around with some of these options and do some flipping of your Ys and your X's, like on here, to get to this XYZ, and I can help with that if we need to. So from there, I'll press OK. So now I'm starting at this point and I can set up my carving operation. Now we have all these cool tools that we can use, clearings and pockets. Because this is our first time, we're just going to use a simple engrave. It's going to ask you, what tool do you want? I will send you a tool that you can upload. But it's a engraver bit. It sets your speeds for you. It sets your feed rate for you. It sets you all the things that we had to do by hand. It sets for you. And you can adjust these if needed. We're not going to have any coolant on this one, but you could do air, all these other details as well. We'll talk about that at a later time. Over here, we'll go to geometry, and we got to say, what do we want to cut out? I want to cut out this, the C, the L, and I want to click at the bottom of it. See how it's highlighted like that? The O, the U, and the D. So 6 contours. If I click on heights, it's going to say like when we put in our Z heights, it's going to have them already set for us. In this case, because if we have everything else set up, we shouldn't have to make any adjustments, but you could if you needed to. We won't worry about our passes and our linking for this time through. All right. So now that's what we're carving out. You see the green start block and you see the rest carved out. So we did that correctly. I can run a simulator right here, simulate, and I can press play, and that's what the carving's going to do. Now we can send the G code out, and that's a post process. Now we're using the Haas desktop mill. You may have to search for that, Haas desktop mill. I already have it, but you'll set that up. Now my output folder, I want to get my USB drive. I will stick it in there. I don't have one on me at the very second, so I'm just going to switch to my download folder, but you're just going to plug your USB and save it to USB. I'm also going to name this Cloud Engrave 1. And I'll click Post. Now saved, you see here, successfully. I can view the code. Now saved successfully on my computer, in your case, the drive, will be our entire G code. And you can see this G code is pretty significant compared to what we were doing before. And this is what we can now stick in our computer. And this little piece is 1,308 lines long. We can stick that into our machine, and we can run that graphics, make sure it works, and then carve it out of the wood. So that's going to be our next project. Hopefully this helped you get to what you needed to do.